And again, whether you're catching this event live or in the replay, I just want to tell you that I'm having so much fun, really, so much fun with interacting with all of you. Course in Miracles is all about joining. Minds are joined. We're all joined. And it really, really is a beautiful thing on any spiritual path when people can share their journeys with each other. That really means quite a bit, is being able to share your experience, what you might be struggling with, questions that you may have, answers that you may have, right? That maybe will help someone else. You never know. You really, truly never know in this arena who you're going to touch on a deep, personal, and highly effective level. So that's why it's so important that we just show up. We show up. If we have questions, ask questions. I'm happy to answer them. If I don't catch them on the live stream, then I will catch them if you're watching the replay. I'll go through the comments and I'll find them and I'll do my best to answer all of them. And other people can too. I've noticed since I've started this live stream here on Enlightened World Network that there are so many beautiful questions that someone else watching has an answer to. That's the way life is that someone in the group has had a very similar experience to ours, and maybe they would be much better able than I am to speak to a solution that's going to work for you. And that's why we aim to get this community as broad as we possibly can. So if you know of anyone that might benefit from this, please share this post out. And thank you to all of you who have done that here. And tell them about Enlightened World Network, what we're all about, and the work that we're trying to do, which is literally bring the light to people. What does that mean? Well, in Course in Miracles terminology, it means showing up as love and shining that on people in whatever way that looks like for you. And there are many different ways. Why? Because we all have our own roles to play. We all have our own roles to play, and it's all a part of the plan for, as a course talks about it, salvation. It's all part of how we're collectively, as well as individually, awakening to the truth and the experience of who we really are. All right, let's delve back into the workbook, shall we? We're at lesson 27 today. Now, you'll start to notice as you're following along that there are some repeat lessons. Now, we're not to the point where we're actually reviewing old lessons yet, but we will get there. There are review periods in the workbook if you've never been through it before. But we're seeing the idea of wanting to see. We saw a few lessons back, the lesson that the idea of the day was, I'm determined to see. Today it's above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see. In other words, see and experience things as they truly are. So what's the big difference here? It's the above all else. What we're doing in lesson 27 is beginning to practice prioritizing this over all else. If you take the broader view, which I certainly encourage everyone to do, we're prioritizing vision. We're prioritizing our own spiritual awakening over all else. That's exactly what it sounds like. We're making this priority number one. Why? Because it is ultimately why we are here. It is why you are watching this live stream right now. It is why you have picked up a workbook for students of A Course in Miracles and begun to go through it. Now, if you haven't picked it up and begun to go through it, you're still watching this live stream. Why? Because ultimately, each of us is deep down on our way to making the decision that above all else, we want to see. Whether you're experiencing active resistance, active ego-based resistance to this idea or not, it's all right. Deep down, this is what we all want. And the workbook here is helping us. Isn't that nice? I mean, it's helping us. It is. Sometimes it may not feel like these lessons are actually helping you. Sometimes you may feel like, well, okay, I don't really know what that did for me. Or you may, of course, experience active resistance to some of these. And of course, that's going to happen. But they're deep down helping us, all of it. So it's something more than mere determination, as the workbook points out today. It's a priority. It gives vision priority amongst all of our desires, including our worldly desires, such as being able to make the next rent or mortgage payment, career desires, love relationships, desires like that, love, sex, whatever, you name it, food, a beautiful dinner, a nice bottle of wine, right? This is assigning our own spiritual awakening a higher priority. Does it mean that you have to deprioritize anything else? No, hardly, not at all. Not at all, because here in the world, we still have rent, we still have mortgage, we still have relationships, we still have people that are dependent upon us and counting on us. And there's still plenty of really beautiful bottles of wine out there. There are plenty of beautiful meals. There are plenty of beautiful walks you could take in the mountains, the desert, in a green field, on the beach. There are plenty of beautiful vacations you could take. There are lots of things to do. And in prioritizing vision, we're simply placing our mind's priority on our own awakening. What will that do to everything else? Well, it will enhance the quality of everything else, will it not? Yeah. All we have to do is think about a time where we were really, really wonderfully happy. How'd we enjoy whatever we were doing then? Were we spending time with friends or family members in a state of real happiness? Okay, compare that to a time where you spent time with friends and or family members or both, and you were really unhappy. Let's say you were fighting with somebody. Maybe there was a quarrel going on, right? What's the difference, right? You can tell the difference. We experience the difference. It's a result of ultimately, our choice, our priority, to prioritize vision over all else. Now, one thing the workbook points out that I want to spend a minute talking about, and then we'll get to your questions here on the stream, it's that there may be a temptation to feel like you're giving something up. Okay, let's address this here, and we'll address this notion again and again because the workbook brings it up again. If you're going through the text, you'll notice this comes up all the time, and that's the notion of what we call sacrifice. Like we have to give something up in order to get something. If we prioritize vision, the ego is worried that we're not going to prioritize it, that we're not going to prioritize getting revenge on somebody for something they did to you 26 years ago, and all the ridiculous things that the ego dwells on, that being simply an example. There's a temptation to believe that we have to give something up because in ego terminology, in the ego's approach to the world, you have to, if you give something, you lose it, right? If you give something away, you make a gift to somebody, you're out that thing, whatever that is. That is the way the ego sees everything. So in giving something to someone or in prioritizing vision, you're losing something. In fact, it's just the opposite. In truth, it's just the opposite. If you give something, you get that something returned to you. And sometimes many, many fold. Givers receive. That is how we receive what we want, is by giving it away. Literally, this is the way it works. And the Course talks about this in various places. So really, vision doesn't cost you anything. And you'll see that here in lesson 27. As you think about this, if you're feeling, and the Course invites you, if you're feeling uneasy, of allergy going on here, I wonder what that is. Yeah, if you're feeling uneasy about something, like you're giving something away, then the workbook says for you to just state to yourself, vision has no cost to anyone. It can only bless. In other words, we're not giving something up. Now, if this is a very strong resistance, there's nothing wrong with that. Really, that's okay. If you're finding these exercises difficult or incredible, in the sense of, not incredible, beautiful, incredible, but incredible in the sense of, yeah, I don't really buy this. Actually, that's all right. The workbook just invites us, and they do so again today, to just continue to practice the day's idea, just that. And in the last paragraph, it says, even if you only do this once today, it will save you years of effort in the end. Why? We're prioritizing our own awakening. We're prioritizing love, a little bit at a time. Above all else, I want to see. So just repeat that idea as directed here in the workbook as often as you can today. And it is something that we all must do to make that a priority. All right. So let's see who's tuning in here live today. And for whatever reason, it's not coming up. So we are, in fact, recording live. And if you have questions, here we are. Go ahead and type them in here, because I'll do my best to answer them while we're here on the stream. And let's see here. Now, a number of you are habitually joining us every day, so I thank you for doing that. And Deidre, hello, and Robert, hi. Cindy, Robert, good evening. From Europe, from Romania. Yeah, anyone with any questions or comments, feel welcome while we have time here on the live stream to answer these. This is a very, very important lesson of prioritizing our own spiritual growth. Now, we don't do that enough in the world, do we? The world is not set up for us to prioritize our spiritual growth. It's set up for us to prioritize our social media feed. It's set up for us to prioritize making money. It's set up for us to prioritize doing pitched battle and competition with each other in economic systems, no matter what country you live in the world, that view things in terms of lack, have and have not, get. That's the world of the ego. That's the world we were born into here. That's the world we live in. But it doesn't have to be the world that we want to see. So yes, and yeah, Robert and Cindy, hello. Cindy says she's having fun sharing the glow by celebrating others. Yes, I love that. Yeah, this is what love is sharing. And the ego, of course, is not sharing, is it? I mean, anytime that you're wondering what the difference is, I mean, just think about the contrast between sharing and wanting. Gimme, 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 gimme. That's what the ego says. Gimme, gimme. What's in it for me? What can I get out of this at your expense? Because I'm the only thing that exists. I'm the center of the universe. Didn't you know that? Come on. Don't listen to these guys. Who's this guy talking on? And that's the ego. And it sounds like that, doesn't it? It's a constant chatter. It's a constant chatter. And when we learn to quiet that, then we begin to experience life differently. And if we really begin to experience life differently, maybe you're experiencing this in your own life, the ego begins to shout at us, becoming legitimately threatened that we're just going to walk away from it and remove our belief in it. And it's just going to be the nothingness that it is. So it rightly fears this. It's the only thing that, of course, tells us the ego is right about, that we're ultimately going to leave it behind. Now, this is the journey to doing this, or the journey back, if you want to consider it that. Yes. So, pretty straightforward lesson today. And as always, these are simple lessons that I aim to present simply, but it doesn't make it necessarily easy, does it? Simple and easy are not exactly the same thing when we're bombarded with our habitual tendencies and our ego conditioning, which we inherited from our parents' generation, who inherited it from theirs and theirs and theirs, to the point where we really have to realize it's nobody's fault. It's no one's fault that we're finding ourselves in this situation right here, right now, wherever you are, whatever state in life you're in, whatever's going on for you. It's no one's fault. This is a situation that we've made. This is a situation we get to unmake. And we are more powerful than we have previously imagined. We can make a world, we can unmake it. Same power. Same power. The workbook helps us awaken to that power, and lessons like today's help us to prioritize it. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in here today. This has been A Course in Miracles 365, and I'm your host, Tomás Garza. Wherever you are today, thank you again for joining me, and thank you for sharing and for all of your comments and for joining me here today. So I'll see you again here tomorrow.